So, international break is here. Yes, it's boring, but it does give us a chance to reflect on the season so far. You know, how we've looked, how certain players have looked, and maybe where we need to improve as well. As always, I would love to hear people's thoughts and opinions on this season so far, so let me know. You know, we're going into the last 10 games of the Premier League season. This is the title running, and this will be the best title running for a very, very long time. A 3-horse race. But just quickly, before we get into it, do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoy this type of content. So let's get into it. So as Arsenal fans, this is just a chance for us to breathe. Now, did I want this international break to come? No chance. We know how Arsenal have looked all season, and we are the form team in the league up to this point. You know, just look at our recent run of fixtures. We've won all of our games. So we know we got that Man City game coming up, and we're probably going into it, you know, with broken momentum. We was the form team. We was playing the best football. We was having the most high-scoring games. But all that kind of seems like, well, it will seem at the time, a very long way away. You know, after 3 weeks of not playing with each other, you can feel slightly out of sync. Now, I do still give Arsenal a massive chance in that Man City game. It's going to be hard. We're playing away from home, but we are still more than capable of going there and getting a win. So what positives can we take from this international break? You know, we got players flying off, but there's also some players that maybe can get some well-needed rest. We know how much we've not really changed certain aspects of this Arsenal team. You know, some of these players have played a lot of games. So this gives them a chance to maybe play with less intensity. You know, most of the players are going into international friendlies. So they're not going to be as high-paced as the Premier League games. So it just gives them a chance to play less minutes, maybe do less training, and just maybe enjoy the international environment that a lot of these teams enjoy. You know, England camp, whether you like the style of play or not, whether you like the manager or not, there does seem to be a good bond between all the players. So it just gives them a chance to switch off slightly. Now, can that be a negative? Absolutely, because maybe you are taking your eye off the ball slightly. But, you know, there will be benefits that we probably can take from this. Like I said, injuries, resting some players, just give them a chance to chill out for a bit, basically. So let's look at how some of our players have performed this season. Like I said, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on all of these players. Start with a goalkeeper, David Raya. Now, we know the whole David Raya Ramsdale situation, but how good and how assured do you feel now that David Raya is the main Arsenal goalkeeper? We saw Ramsdale come in, and unfortunately recently he made a mistake, and that basically made up the minds of the people that maybe needed slightly more convincing that David Raya was the guy over Aaron Ramsdale. Now, I do feel sorry for Ramsdale because I do still think he's a very good goalkeeper. I do still think he's probably England's best goalkeeper, and he should be playing as England's number one. Now, that's not going to happen while he's number two at Arsenal, and it's certainly not going to happen while he's playing under the pressure that he seems to be playing with at the minute. We saw him in that last game, made a silly mistake and conceded a goal. Gareth Southgate's not going to be looking at that and thinking, oh, I need that in my team. You know, so he does probably need to move in the summer to get a chance to prove that he is England's number one. And that leaves us with a question, do you sell Aaron Ramsdale? Now, if you asked me this 2, 3, 4 months ago, I would have said, what are you talking about? Aaron Ramsdale's our best goalkeeper. But there does come a point in time where you have to look at it and think, right, maybe it probably is best for the player. Now, there's benefits of keeping Aaron Ramsdale. Having 2 good goalkeepers in your squad improves your team, improves your squad. Therefore, it's best to have 2 good goalkeepers. But Aaron Ramsdale seems to be under a pressure now that maybe he can't escape from. So for that reason, do you sell Aaron Ramsdale and bring in a younger goalkeeper to learn from someone like David Raya? Let me know your thoughts on that. And then we go to Ben White, right back. One of the most consistent right backs in the whole of the Premier League. You know, I've done a couple of videos on this channel recently about Ben White. And the hate from rival fans that Ben White gets, I don't understand. I can't process it. Like, they really don't rate Ben White. And I don't care. I don't care if other people rate Ben White because I know what he offers this Arsenal team. But to me, it's baffling that you can watch a player like Ben White and not rate him. What else does he have to do to garner the respect that other right-backs in the league currently have? You know, some people are saying he's 6th, 7th right-back, and there's so many comments saying that I genuinely think people might actually believe that. And I can't understand that whatsoever. Ben White, for me, is a top 2 Premier League right-back in the whole league. You know, Kyle Walker deserves the respect of being probably the best right-back in the league. Ben White is just behind him. I'm hearing shouts like Reece James, a guy who's probably not even played 12 minutes this season. You know, a good player, Reece James, but, you know, your best ability is the ability to be able to play every game. Ben White has the ability to do that. Look at Ben White's minutes recently and compare it to a player like Reece James. Ben White deserves respect, and I think Ben White's having a very, very underrated season, obviously. I think Arsenal fans respect Ben White. They know what he offers this team. Carry on Ben White, because he's been playing brilliant this season. And then that leads us into the centre-backs, Gabriel and Saliba. We know how important it is to keep that partnership together for the whole season. We saw what happened when we lost Saliba last season. Touch wood, that hasn't happened this season, and it doesn't happen this season. If we can keep these two together for the whole rest of the season, Arsenal are going to have a good season. Now, we're not as vulnerable as we was last season. When we did lose a Saliba or a Gabriel, we had the likes of Rob Holding coming. Now, I don't think Rob Holding's a bad player, but we do have better options this season if one of those guys were to get injured. Like I said, I don't want it to happen, of course, but say if it did happen, we do have Tomiyasu to come in. We do have Kiwior to come in. So we have more than enough reinforcements in those positions to not be as vulnerable as we was last season when we lost a key centre-back figure in William Saliba. So I hope these two stay fit. And in terms of seasons, all you got to do is look at their numbers. Look at Arsenal having the best defensive record in the league. Now there's other factors like the goalkeeper, left-back and right-back, but the centre-back partnership is unquestionably a massive factor in Arsenal having that great record. And we know how good not only they are defensively, but what they offer going forward. Look at Gabriel's goals this season. Look at Saliba's crucial goals this season. Probably the best centre-back partnership in the league. And so therefore, in my opinion, they're probably the best centre-back partnership in the world. Unless anyone else can think of a better centre-back partnership than William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, let me know. And then we're going to move on to the left-back. Kiwior. Brilliant. When Zinchenko got injured a month or so ago, what was we thinking? We're so vulnerable now. We already know we had Tomiyasu out. We had Jurrien Timber out, who probably is the future left-back for Arsenal. So what do? We played Kiwior. Looked okay in the first game. I think he had 45 minutes against Liverpool. Brought him in the next game. We haven't looked back since. Does offer us a different dimension in terms of defensive solidity. So good defensively. So calm defensively. And now he's playing like a player who actually deserves to be in that Arsenal team. You could probably accuse him before of maybe being a bit jittery, maybe making certain mistakes, maybe playing like a player who knows when other players come back, he's going to sit on the bench. He looks like a reserve option, but he's not playing like that now. Kiwior is a fully fledged first team. He's certainly playing like it. And Mikel Arteta is going to have a difficult decision when the other left-backs come back. Who are you going to play? Do you switch it out? Let me know your thoughts. Say when we get, we've already got Zinchenko back. Say when we get Jurrien Timber, Tomiyasu back. What do you do in the left-back position then? Do you stay as we are and keep Kiwior, Saliba and Gabriel as the furthest back guys and allow Ben White to do what he's been doing all season? Or do you switch it for a Zinchenko? Do you switch it for a Timber? Let me know your thoughts. In my opinion, it's probably harsh, but I would love to see Timber in that role. I think Timber is a transformative signing. It's just unfortunate that we haven't been able to see it yet. It hasn't played out that way. He got injured in the first game of the season. I think Mikel Arteta had a plan with Jurrien Timber, and I think we're going to see that as soon as Jurrien Timber is back. I don't know when he's going to be back, though. Every time I'm looking for updates on Jurrien Timber's injury, all it's saying is to be confirmed. We know he's there or thereabouts, but will he be able to play the last 10 games of the season? Will he be available after this 3-week break? Or will it be more like the last 4 or 5 games of the season? Either way, it's going to help us out because it does give us a different dimension. But Kiwior, brilliant this season. He needs to keep playing like that. And if he does, it's going to be very hard for one of those other guys to displace him in this team. And then you move on to the midfielders. Declan Rice been superb. Probably our most consistent performer. More recently, we've had players like Odegaard who seem unplayable at times. But Declan Rice just seems at such a high level throughout the whole season. And he has transformed Arsenal's midfield. We know he was good last season with Thomas Partey in the midfield. Declan Rice has come in and it doesn't look like we've dropped off whatsoever. Declan Rice, really, really good. Now, early on in this season, I think our midfield struggled. Because we seem to be playing 2 number 10s. It was Odegaard and Trossard or Odegaard and Havertz. And I don't think that suited the way that Arsenal plays. It's better when we have 2 more anchors. Or say you have a Thomas Partey or a Declan Rice and then a Jorginho. I think you need those 2 more, not defensive-minded players, but just 2 more stable anchors in this team who can dictate play from deeper within the pitch. You know, when you got Havertz and Trossard, you're more inclined to get forward and overload the forward areas of the pitch. And I think that affects the way that we can utilise Odegaard in those areas. I think Odegaard's better when he has two midfielders behind him who don't really get in his way. When Odegaard has free reign of that full forward line, I think that's when he operates at his best, at his highest level. And we've seen that with Odegaard in recent weeks. When he's on form and everyone's on form, if you had to say who has the highest ability in this Arsenal team, for me, it's probably Martin Odegaard. The technical ability, the vision, just the panache that he plays with is something I haven't seen in a very, very long time in an Arsenal shirt. I love watching Martin Odegaard play. So Martin Odegaard, brilliant season. Hopefully he can keep it up into these last 10 games. And then you move on to the wingers. Now, Martinelli's obviously been injured. Been unfortunate. You know, I would love to have Martinelli for every single game going in, and I hope it is. You know, it didn't seem like it was too bad of an injury. We got told Martinelli had a cut. Now, if it is a cut, then he should be available as soon as these international fixtures end. You know, we know Gabriel Martinelli got pulled from the Brazil squad. I just hope the injury isn't that bad, or it isn't bad enough to where he misses the next 5 games of the season. Hopefully we have Gabriel Martinelli back. And in terms of how he's played this season, he's been good. He probably hasn't hit the heights that he did last season. He's not a million miles away from that. But I think the slow start that he had to this campaign has affected his numbers massively. Now, it's not also just his numbers. I think we've also struggled moving the ball into the left-hand side quite as much as we have onto the right. I think Ben White, Jorginho, Odegaard and Saka have operated in that right section of the pitch flawlessly. But I do think that our left winger is very isolated at times. Now, is that because we haven't been able to play Zinchenko as much this season? And we know when Zinchenko pushes up into midfield, he occupies probably the left side of that midfield, and it will allow more link-up plays between Martinelli, Declan Rice and the striker. But we just haven't seen it this season. Hopefully we do see that going forward, because I think it has affected whoever our left winger is, their numbers this season. But if I'm looking at Martinelli's season, I'm certainly not saying he's had a bad season. I think he's had a good season. Saka. The thing about Saka is I actually think there's more to come from Bukayo Saka. That's the scary thing, because look at his numbers. He's already outperforming his numbers that he was last season. But I do still think there's another gear to go up from Bukayo Saka. Now he's had games this season where he has been unplayable at times. But there's also been games where maybe you're left wanting slightly more from Bukayo Saka. Now, just look at the numbers. He is our best performing player in terms of output, and he has had a fantastic season. But I rate Bukayo Saka so highly that I think there just might be slightly more to come from Bukayo Saka. And I hope it does. And I hope he does produce in these last games going into this final 10-game run-in. It'd be interesting to see what Gareth Southgate does with him in the England squad. We know how much he's been played all season. He probably does need a bit of rest. Will Gareth Southgate give it to him? I think he said previously, when asked stuff like that, Bukayo Saka playing so many games. And he said, well, if he's able to play so many games, then he's obviously fit, so I'll continue to play him as well. So I think Southgate will have that mentality with Saka. I think he's going to be wanting to play his best team in these friendlies that we got coming up. We know we got the Brazil friendly coming up. I'll probably do a video on that, to be fair, because we do have Arsenal players playing against each other. So another video later on, I'll probably be mentioning that. So make sure you're subscribed for that. But Saka, very good season. Can't wait to see more from Bukayo Saka. And then that leaves you with the strikers. Gabriel Jesus, going into this season, Gabriel Jesus was our number 1 striker. You know, he got injured, which is a trait of Gabriel Jesus, unfortunately. He is inclined to get injuries from time to time. And when he does, a player stepped up and taken that position from Gabriel Jesus to the point where now Gabriel Jesus is going to be struggling for game time. Not game time, because he will still be a rotation player, but Kai Havertz has snatched that position off Gabriel Jesus, and that's what you want to see from a team. When you have so many good players who can operate in so many different positions, when you do lose a player for a few weeks, you have someone come in. If they play well, they've got that position now. Now it's on the guy who lost the position to come back in and earn that shirt back. That's how it needs to be in a Premier League team. That's why Arsenal are so good, because we have so many good players in every single position. When we get an injury, when Martinelli goes out, we have a Trossard who's able to come in. And Trossard's had a very good season as well. You know, one of our best performers in terms of output. Trossard, very good season. Bargain signing that we've ever had in January. I'm just trying to think. I think Trossard is probably our best ever signing in January. We obviously had a Aubameyang in January. But in terms of value for money, Trossard might just eclipse what Aubameyang offered Arsenal. So very good from Trossard. Havertz, brilliant. Jesus, like I said, it's now up to him to try and break back into this team. I think it's going to be very hard because I like what Havertz offers us. You know, a lot of us were sceptical when Mikel Arteta decided to take the decision of pulling the trigger on Kai Havertz. We were thinking, what are we doing? Kai Havertz from Chelsea, can't hit a barn door. Look at him now. Look how he's playing when he's brought into an environment that inspires confidence, that allows free-flowing football to be adapted and used in however which way you like. Now, Arteta has a system. All these players thrive in this system. That's the sign of a great manager, and that's why I'm saying Mikel Arteta has had a fantastic season as well. This has been his best season. You know, last season he started the season fantastically well. We did peter out towards the end. I think this season maybe we started slightly slower. Still good enough to stay within touching distance of the Premier League title chasers and the Champions League. We had a very good Champions League group fixture. You know, and then we get through to the quarterfinals. So Mikel Arteta is outperforming what he was able to do last season, no doubt. Mikel Arteta, fantastic season. All in all, so far, I'm going to give this season probably an 8. We're right where we need to be. We're going to be boosted now by the fact we have players returning from injury. Everything seems to be coming together perfectly for this final 10 games of the season, for the quarterfinals of the Champions League. And if we can keep all of these players fit, I think Arsenal can do something special this season. I really, really do. That's just my opinion, though. I would like to know yours. So let me know your thoughts about everything you've heard in this video. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. If you could, though, before you go, just do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up. It's free and it helps the channel massively. And I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.